Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Minister J. Man, listen, I hope that you guys are doing well. It's a brand new week. It's actually the beginning, well, I guess technically yesterday, Palm Sunday was the beginning of Holy Week. So I really hope that everybody is just well and that you're enjoying your day and that you're just ready to really attack this week. And I just pray that God is with you. For those of you who have had the opportunity, you saw my last video, you know that, this topic, it kind of sort of just jumped out at me. It's like, you just kind of live your life, and all of a sudden one day something comes up and you're like, what is that? It just kind of intrigues you. So just like in everyday life, this new movie that's coming out, that just came out. I believe it just came out just last weekend. It's called His Only Son. I want to make certain that I say this in this, in this video. I'm actually extremely interested in the movie. It kind of looks like it's going to be good. Now, the only reason why I say kind of is, you know how it is when you see like the little movie poster. It's kind of like the thumbnail for, a video or whatever. But you see the little movie poster, and then you see the movie, and sometimes they don't necessarily match up or whatever. You know what I mean? So, but and I know, the movie poster is simple, but based off of the movie poster itself, and based off of, the actual. Sorry about that. Just want to make sure my phone's on vibrate. Of the movie poster and the name of the movie and the implied content, it really seemed like it's going to be, a good movie. So I'm personally interested in seeing it. But the subject matter, the context, while I am interested in it, the timing seems weird. So again, if you saw the last video, what you are aware of is that I kind of questioned the timing of the movie, particularly in regards to the name of the movie. So again, it's called His Only Son, and it came out, basically, the first of this month. So again, literally, I think it just came out yesterday or the day before yesterday, however that worked. It's peculiar because the movie is called His Only Son. Again, I made it pretty clear in the last video. I said, when you think of His Only Son, if somebody just says those words to you, says that phrase to you, His only son, and you're involved, you're a part of the church, or it's Easter time, if they're talking to you about Christianity, I just can't see you thinking of Abraham. I can't see you thinking of Abraham. It doesn't make any sense. It's not to take anything away from Abraham. Of course, Abraham was asked by God to take Isaac up to the mountain and to sacrifice him, which is what this movie is about. But in the same exact conversation, the deal is that, and of course it is a parallel. It is a shadow, right? Anybody, like I said, if you, whether you're a theologian or not, if you know a theologian, you've heard that said, you know what I mean? So it becomes a thing of, what exactly is the motivation? And so I want to kind of talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about the reason why it's a little bit weird to me. I'm going to try to make this, not super long. I'm probably going to have to do an additional part to this, but let's start it like this here. So there was a show back in the early 2000s, and it might have actually. No, I think it was the first season was like 2003. The show was called The OC. You may or may not have seen it. To me, it was kind of like it was like a Fox show, and it was similar to Dawson's Creek. As a matter of fact, I remember, having been a fan of Dawson's Creek. I don't care what you say. I liked it. You know what I'm saying? But I remember having been a fan of Dawson's Creek. That's why when I saw like some of the characters and the way they seemed to present the premise in the previews, it really caught my attention or whatever. It's funny because in retrospect, yesterday what I actually did is I haven't watched another whole episode. It's probably been a good while since I saw another episode. But I definitely have watched again since then, probably even within the last 2 years or so. But I don't think it's been any sooner than that, more recent than that. But in some ways, to me, it almost actually reminds me, there are aspects of it that I see in Bel Air, the show that's made off of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. It just similar premises and some of the overarching story points and concepts seem to be shared to me. That's not a super big deal. You may or may not agree with that. It's definitely somewhat of a different perspective, but again, somewhat similar. Nevertheless, I digress. In the OC, basically it's about this guy. I forget exactly. He's like a troubled youth or whatever. And I believe the dad, if I remember correctly, was like a lawyer or something and was representing him. And somehow they've got like a son, and they're rich. They OC is Orange County, if you're not aware. And they basically get this boy to come and live with them. His name is Ryan. He also played Commissioner Gordon on oh golly, I can't even remember the name, Gotham, that was on Fox. And he's a pretty good actor, for real. But nevertheless, he goes and he stays with them, and they have a son already, and kind of a cool dude, a little bit geeky, dweeby, that kind of thing. But he's pretty cool. I mean, it's literally they have, and this is part of what made me think of it. They have a little bit of a Will Smith and Carlton Banks kind of a dynamic, the two of them, or whatever. But anyway, so the dad is a Jew, and the mom is a Christian, and their son, all these kids are supposed to be like high school age, if I recall. You know what I mean? He kind of feels like he's stuck in between. Mom celebrates Christmas, dad celebrates Hanukkah, and so he wants to bring them together. So he creates this holiday called Chrismukkah. Now, to my understanding, that was probably one of the first times the terminology Chrismukkah was used in a major television show. And being like a guy, I was in my early 20s at the time. It was one of those things where it was just funny to me. It was funny or fun even. I really didn't think much of it, is really the point I'm trying to make, though. You know what I mean? But basically, Chrismukkah, like I implied, is just a combination of Christmas and Hanukkah. I wouldn't exactly go so far. Let me say it this way. Again, there was no way at the time that I would have seen it as a combining of Christmas, as Christianity and Judaism. I wouldn't have seen it that way. I would have just seen it as just a fun thing, and I think that's what they intended to, imply. You know what I mean? And so it was one of those things. But so it's one of those things. Like I said, it really didn't strike me. I just saw it, and especially the way that he presents it. And if you've never seen it, I think it's like I'm gonna try to see if I can put the details. But I know it's the first season. I want to say it might be like episode 13, something like that. I know this, like I said, because I tried to do a little bit of research on this yesterday because I wanted to make sure that I spoke to this as best as possible. But, it was just one of those things. That's the way I saw it. I saw it as being funny. Well, I bring that up because last year, around about June, I had actually heard about a similar concept for the first time. Now, there was something called the Abraham Accords. That didn't actually occur last year, but it was the first time I had heard about it. The Abraham Accords was basically, and I said a little bit of this in the last video, the Pope and I believe it's a Muslim imam. I don't know the guy's name. But basically they came together, and they actually did have some other religious leaders, but they were the major ones. And they basically signed this agreement basically to promote human fraternity, I believe is how it's termed. And they wanted to basically in the name of human fraternity, basically they want to get to the roots of our commonality, our common ancestry as religions. You know what I mean? The Pope seemingly representing Christianity. I touched on that. No, I did not touch on that last time. Yes, I did. That's a little more, up for debate. Catholicism, again, and I really don't mean any offense or disrespect to anybody that might be watching this. But, I don't know that you can really tie Catholicism to Christianity in the sense that, especially with the Protestant Reformation and some other things, that was done because of a lot of the practices that the Catholic Church was doing. None of the least of those was praying to Mary, venerating the saints, praying to them, and these types of things. You know what I mean? But anyway, it was like a combination between, they're trying to combine Christianity, the Islamic faith, and then Judaism, due to our common ancestor, as I mentioned in the last video, Abraham. He's the one absolute common figure. I say he's absolute, honestly, I really wouldn't even say that, because honestly, if you really look at it, even he has to be different to an extent. But there's more agreement on Abraham than there probably is on anybody else in either of those religions, either of those faiths. I mean, Jews, they don't believe in pretty much anything beyond the Torah as it relates to what we know as the Holy Bible. Particularly, they don't believe in Jesus Christ, or that he was the Messiah, or any of these types of things, okay? The Torah is extra and extremely sacred. That's the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. That's basically their Bible. Now, there may be other texts. I think there probably are, and I'm not as familiar with that. That may be something that I look more into. And if you want to put a comment below, you definitely can. But the Abraham and their belief system is connected to God, the Creator. The only trick, though, is that, and again, I do understand. I really do understand the variance, but I don't know personally that fully could be compatible with the God of, the Muslim faith, the Islamic faith, because this guy, while there's an Abraham there, he eventually would send Muhammad, and there was a whole nother text that was written that was in addition to the actual Bible that the Christians use. And then, of course, you know what I mean? Again, the Catholics, like pretty much all Christians, believe in Jesus Christ and the accepted 66 books of the Bible. Again, the key difference for the Catholics, though, is Mary, the veneration of saints, the constant imagery of Jesus Christ on the cross, whether you're talking about the Pope's staff or outside of, or even inside of their churches, they constantly show him on the cross. And, they say that it's partially because they're trying to remember the sacrifice that he made for us. And if I'm being honest with you, I do kind of understand that, especially as a guy who came from somewhat of a more traditional church background. I really, really do. But it loses the place of power that relationship gives you, which I believe you can't fully tap into until you respect the fact that Jesus is no longer on the cross. You know what I mean? But when you figure extra biblical, and I know that there's other aspects of Christianity, or what's accepted as Christianity, that has extra books. I believe the Book of Mormon for the Mormons, and I think the Jehovah's Witnesses too. I don't want to go too far into that because I do know about it, but it's not so fresh on my mind, and because of the way my mind works, I'll get it wrong. And again, I'm not intending to disrespect anybody or their faith. You know what I mean? But the purpose of this agreement that they came up was to build this kind of like this campus in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. So it's in what they call the Cultural District, on Al Sarayit. I think that's how you say it, island. And it's funny because in this place they can't say the name Jesus. They can't make an effort to convert people to Christianity, which is the strangest thing, because you can convert them to Islam. I don't know this next part for sure because I haven't seen anything specific to it, but I would imagine you could also possibly convert people to Judaism, but you can't even say Jesus, and that kind of thing. So it's really, really strange that they would do this. But I bring this up, to begin to kind of wrap this video, because when I started looking at this movie, like I said, as soon as I heard it, the first thing I thought was, oh, it's an Easter movie, which I guess you could make the argument that it is, only to find out that it's not Jesus, it's not Mary, it's not Joseph, it's not God. It's, Abraham and Isaac. It's God, it's Sarah, I'm sure. Who knows, maybe even we will see something about Hagar and Ishmael in there. You know what I mean? Let me tell you how bad it got me. In the process of doing some of my studying, particularly prior to the last video, what I began to question what the Bible said. I said, now wait a minute. I'm like, Abraham had more than one son. And it's one of those things, you got to see it for yourself. I had to go back. And it's like, I know he had Ishmael. And I know that the Bible even said, but it was a great reminder to find that scripture that says, God asked Abraham to take his son, his only son, which is where they get the name for the movie from. Somebody commented on the last video, and I really appreciate your comment. I'm going to try to get back to you today, at least to reply to you or let you know that I did get it. But they said to me that I misjudged the movie. I would be very interested to hear your take. But it just seems interesting that they would release a movie like this close to Easter or Resurrection Sunday, just a few months after the completion of this Abrahamic house of worship, I think is what they call it. And again, there's three different edifices. There's the Jewish temple, there's the Islamic mosque, and then there's the Christian church. And it's not necessarily in that order, I don't think. I forget the order. Maybe look it up if you get a chance. You know what I mean? But it just makes me wonder. And like I said in the last video, I can't be the only person. I can't be the only person who has questioned this, but maybe I am. But I believe very strongly that God has put this on my heart, and it's a conversation that needs to be had. What are your thoughts? You know what I mean? What's your take on this? Let's be respectful, but I really would love to kind of hear, do you believe differently? How did it strike you when you heard about the movie? I don't want to say it this way, but I'll be honest. I mean, do you think I'm like tripping and maybe I misunderstand like the other person? Do you think maybe that I misjudged this? You know what I mean? Or are you familiar with the Abrahamic house and the thing? They're calling this thing Chrislam, and technically they're not calling it that. It's kind of being called that. There's another word that's out there you might find, and I'm going to try to touch on this. It's called Abrahamia, which goes back to part of what my concern is for this whole thing. Abraham is very commonly known as the father of faith. So anyway, think about that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like the video. You're welcome to share it. You know what I mean? But definitely just want to open up the floor and have that conversation. Again, this is Holy Week. This is the week that we're marching towards, the Savior's, death, burial, and resurrection. And let's remember the power in that. And I hope that you have the opportunity to share with your family and with your friends, and that God's power is made manifest in your life. God bless you all. Thanks so much. Peace.